Hello guys, I'm back from another video, and today we talk about what if Deku had the Demon Summoning app redo. So, in the last video we talked about how we started off the episode, or at least the last episode, where apparently after Ida and Native's death, they decided to do a little funeral in the school. So after that, while they're at lunch, Todoroki would mention that he would know that, Izuku is actually Limerick and working for the League of Villains. After letting him, have a talk with him after school, and also with the rest of his, team, after hearing him out, he would ask that he wants to, join them and reshape the world. So, after doing that, it's finally the day of the training camp. As everybody's going there, it's basically like a bit of shenanigans. And also, when he came back to the demon world, Lilith would tell him some information about the whereabouts of the good half of Lucifer is. Apparently he's in the mountains. More specifically, the mountains where the training camp is. So, after getting there, they get chased by a monster, or more specifically, a monster made by one of the Wild Pussycats. But when they did get there, Izuku would slice the rocks, which are covering the cave entrance, as they see a large crystal, and inside this crystal is the curled up body of Lucifer. As they would look around as they see several tapestries depicting how the rise and fall of many creatures, or demons as they prefer to call them, basically happened. Including one Naobito that basically, in the last tapestry, basically fighting against God and the angels. So, yeah. After that episode, we ended off the episode by Ezekiel touching the crystal. That is basically holding their most powerful weapon, being Lucifer himself. And so, this is basically the explanation about what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, when Izuku did touch the crystal that is holding their most powerful trump card, being Lucifer himself, when Izuku touched it, something happens. It reacted to the touch as it started glowing this crystal, as it starts cracking. As while it's cracking, it starts showing this beautiful, almost angelic light. And after it fully cracked, it exploded as they would see a bright light, as the bright light would dissipate, as they would see Lucifer, the good side, specifically himself. Lucifer's beautiful golden wings and large horns. He keeps his eyes closed for some reason. But either way, he seems to have this weird looking ribbon or cloth that seems to be covering him at all times. Which is thankful because nobody wants to see them, Anyway, so, when Izuku saw this, Izuku would say this: "You must be Lucifer, right?" As Lucifer would look at them, as he would say this: "Indeed, I am Lucifer, the angel of rebellion, the one who rebelled against Yahweh, the so-called God of this world, the tyrant. But you, my child, you are different. You are a Nahobino. And I wanted to ask, do you want to start a rebellion?" As Izuku would say this: "Yes." As he would say this: "Good. How about my other half? The darker side of myself?" As Izuku would tell him about how his darker self is currently inhabited by All For One. And now they have fused and turned into an albino. When Lucifer heard that, he would say this. Huh. So he fused himself with my darker half. Huh. So, what happened in this world? They're definitely not normal human beings. As he starts looking at all of them, being Dobby, Toga, and Jin, aka Twice, but not Izuku. As Izuku would explain how quirks basically came about, as Lucifer would say this. Huh. So Yahweh decided to do this. That typical old man. That damn tyrant creating this so-called curse. Ugh. I'm really sorry about my outburst there. I just have an extreme hatred for him specifically. As for you, my child, I'll help you out. I'm punishing those that hurt you, that made you feel weak, and I'll help you and bring forth a rebellion that's even greater than my old rebellion back when it was still, well, called Lucifer the Morning Star. As Izuku would say this, good. As Lucifer would go into his phone, as he would get a notification in the Demon Summoning app. It says this. You're able to summon Lucifer. He's now a part of your party. Izuku would say this. Finally. Now, the time has come to start our revolution. A revolution that will be greater than any revolution ever. And we shall be victorious. Right. As everybody in the cave says this. Right. As Izuku would say this. Good. Now let us prepare. Because the final battle is about to begin. As he walks forward and starts moving out. So, let's go to a different perspective. Okay? Good. So, let's go to a different perspective. The perspective of all three of the UA trainers of Class 1B, being Kendo, Ibara, and finally Monoma. Monoma is currently training with Class 1A, even though he knows that Todoroki is now part of their, well, little rebellion, he still doesn't trust him. So, after a while of training, it's finally the time of the... Wait for a second. Finally time for the test of courage. Everybody's excited because they can finally have some alone time with their little crushes, to say the least. As for Bakugo, Bakugo would not have anybody to, partner up with. Because, after all, because of Ida's death, he doesn't have, or at least, Class 1A doesn't have, an even number anymore. And for Class 1B, they would also have, an even number now. They would still have an even number because none of them got killed, so they would start pairing up, but more specifically, Monoma would be paired up with Ibara as for Kendo. She would pair up with a certain boy, in this case, Tetsu. So, as they're going through the forest, as it's finally the time of the, it's basically now the time of the test of courage. So everybody starts going into the forest. So, after going through the forest, both Ibara and Monoma would start putting on their, wait for a second, their vigilante costumes. So, after they put it on, they started moving out and going towards the so-called location of Lucifer. As everybody is basically there now, including the rest of the League of Villains. The League of Villains including Muscular. Muscular is looking at everybody as he would say this. I'll handle the kid. As Izuku would say this. What do you mean by kid, Muscular? As he would say this. It's none of your goddamn business. And besides, Mr. Limerick, If you ever dare to try and step in my way, I will kill you. As Izuku would say this. Oh, really? Now, let's just wait for our allies, our little traitors. As both Ibarra and Monoma would appear, as Ibarra would say this. Alright, the coast is clear, so we can start our chaos now. As for... wait for a second. As Shigaraki would say this. Yes, let's start our little chaos. Now, let's do this, men, and make them pay for their insolence. As they started moving out, Muscular would start going towards the place where he's supposed to kill Koda, as he successfully did. Pretty dark. So, as for Izuku and the rest of the traitors of the League of Villains, they started doing the things just like in canon, but including Izuku, Modoma, Kendo, and Ibarra, and also Todoroki, which he decided to knock out Miss Momo. Momo would be safe in a little part of the forest, even though Todoroki doesn't trust her most of the time now, because after all, he is a part of this new rebellion. So, after knocking her out and putting her in a little cave, that means that she can be safe from the fire, he would start wearing his vigilante costume. His vigilante costume, just imagine him wearing traditional Japanese clothing, but with a half and half mask. One of them, one side is perfectly white, which with a smiley face, and the other side being black, like the deepest black, as it has a horn, and the eye, or the eye socket of that mask, would have a outlining resembling more of an angry or angled eye. So, he would start moving out as he would see the rest of his class, being mostly consisting of, well, wait for a second, Mina and Kirishima. Mina would look over as she would see Todoroki, as she would say this, you perhaps, one of these, test of courage things or whatever, as Todoroki would look over as he sprays out ice, not talking to them, as one of them would say this, dude, what the heck, as he would say this, being Todoroki, which Izuku actually made a little, voice changer for him, or voice, modulator, so he would, say it in a distorted voice, so nobody can recognize him, as he would say this, I'm sorry, but this will be your end. As he would start shooting out tons and tons of ice, as Kirishima would break the ice, as he would say this, who the hell are you? Are you perhaps a villain from the League of Villains or something? As he would say this, yes I am, but unfortunately, we're no longer going to be serving against you people. Not technically, anyway. We're not going to be serving under All for One in the League of Villains anymore. Only our great leader, Limerick, is going to be taking over this place. And as for you two, you will be nothing more than nuisances for our brand new realm, our brand new world, a world where nobody, no more inequality, no more people being, selfish, and no more people being assholes. Just like Endeavor. As he would start charging forward as he creates a sword made from ice, as he would spray out a blast of ice, freezing them solid, but not killing them. So, as for the rest of the Class 1A and Class 1B, they would start attacking each other, trying to take down the rest of the villains, until Kendo would basically disappear as she would put on her, villain costume or vigilante costume, as she would knock out Tetsu and put him under a tree. And thankfully he's still in his hardened state, so he can't be killed in that form, especially with cremation that's being made by Dobby. Just like in canon, what's her name? Toga and Tsuyu and also Chako would start fighting each other. As for Bakugo would be with Yeah, Kaminari. They would start looking around, seeing the fire happening, as they would say this, "What the hell is happening?" As Kaminari would say this, "Maybe it's a villain attack. Maybe it's from the League of the..." As they would look over, as they would see Limerick. As Izuku would say this, or Limerick. "So, it's nice to meet you in the flesh again, Mr. Gokatsuki." As Bakugo would say this, "Who the hell are you, you villain?" As he would say this, "Calling me the villain, eh? What a joke. Saying that to me is basically saying that you're the hero in this story, but unfortunately you're not. You're more of the villain in the story. After all, you did kill this innocent kid by the name of Izuku Midoriya. Or more specifically, made him commit suicide. Even though he didn't, well, technically die, you did kill his dream of becoming a hero." As Bakugo would say this, "Shut up, shut up, shut up!" As he would start shooting out blasts of fire, or more specifically, explosions. As he would summon out Lucifer in the flesh. Lucifer would basically block the attack, nullifying it. As Bakugo would say this, "What the..." As Kaminari would start shooting out electricity, using all of his, energy, as he'd go into his dum-dum mode. As Lucifer would say this, "Oh, you misguided children. How dishonorable." As he would throw them against a tree, causing them to be knocked out. As Izuku would say this, "Now that was easy, right, Lucifer?" As Lucifer would say this, "That is right, Master Izuku Midoriya." As Izuku would say this, "I told you just to call me Limerick." As Bakugo would stand up, as he would say this, "I'm not done yet." As he would start using One For All. As he would start charging forward, as he says this, "Take this, Detroit!" As Izuku would just dodge the attack. As he would say this, "Shit!" As he would cause a big explosion. Everybody would clearly see it, but he would actually get injured, breaking his arm. As Izuku would say this, "Pathetic." As he would kick him right in the stomach. As he would say this, "Daring to fight me, Mr. Bakugo Katsuki. How ignorant are you? Calling yourself a hero, to being a hero of justice, when you're nothing more than a pawn in a stupid game of chess. I'm clearly the chess master in this game, and I shall be the one that's winning. Unlike you." As he would grab him by the neck, as he would say this, "You're not gonna win." As he would explode him right in the face. As Izuku would step back. As when Bakugo looks over, he would see the mask is broken, and seeing Izuku Midoriya. Izuku would look over as Bakugo would say this, "Izuku? Deku? How do you have a quirk?" And as Izuku would say this, "Enough. And besides, it isn't a quirk. It's a gift from God. Or at least a gift from the God that actually wanted me to rule this world. Changing it, to be more specific. Either way, Bakugo Katsuki, I'll be leaving. And as for all of you people, as many people would come out, being some of the heroes, as one of the heroes would say this, "How? I thought you were supposed to be quirkless," says one of them. As one of them comes out, as it's All Might. All Might would say this, "Who gave you this power? And what do you mean by..." As Izuku would say this, "Shut up. I don't even serve under All For One anymore. Besides, why would I work under a quirk user like him? And also, All Might, I used to treasure you like a great and powerful king. I thought that you were a great hero. But now seeing you like this, calling me weak, calling me that I couldn't become a hero. Well, I no longer have respect for you. I don't even have respect for all of you so-called heroes. You're nothing more than imitations. Allow me to show you what true heroes are. Come forth, Lucifer, Satan, Lilith. As Lilith would come out, as Lucifer would start charging up a blast and start shooting all of the heroes, All Might would start dodging the attack, as Satan would just whip its tail, causing him to smash into a mountain, causing him to basically turn into a Small Might form. The big blast that Lucifer made would destroy half the forest, which causes everybody to see the entire fight. All Might is now shrunken down, as everybody would just say this. Oh no, what is he gonna do? As Izuku would just grab him by the neck, as he would say this. Any last words, false hero? As All Might would say this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I couldn't tell you that you could become a hero. You even have a strong power, and as he would say this. Shut up. I don't have any respect for all of you, except for those that are working on my side. And for you, All Might, a symbol of tyranny and false heroism, you shall... As his body would start changing into his now albedo form, as he would grab him by the neck, as he would start burying his claws, as he would say this. Die. As he would stab into his wound, as All Might would be no more. All Might would be dead. Shigaraki would see this, as All Might is basically dead, as Shigaraki would say this. Yes! Yes! You did it! He killed All Might! As everybody would start celebrating, mostly the villains. But Izuku would say this. I wouldn't be so... casually saying that. I no longer work for you. Now, come out. As every single one of, the traitors of, of the League of Villains would start coming out. As one of them would say this, being one of the villains that are siding with the League of Villains. What are you doing? As Shigaraki would say this. Yeah, what the hell are you doing? As Izuku would say this. We no longer serve under you. I only work by myself. And we are known as the new nation. The newborn. And we shall become new rulers of this land. And we shall reshape it to our own whim. We shall change it into a true utopia. Unlike this dystopia. As Shigaraki would say this. You bastard! As you start charging forward as he says this. You dare betray All for One! As Izuku would just rip off both of his arms. As he would start crying out in fear. As everybody would just be horrified seeing this revelation. As Izuku would just look over and see Bakugo. As he would say this. By the way, Bakugo, we're no longer friends. And when we meet again, I will put you into a pedestal of death. I will slap your, not really slap, more like, I will chop your head off and put it on a pedestal. And then when I do that, you'll be remembered as a, I don't know, a villain to this world. A villain that should be punished. You didn't even get any punishment for killing me, for making my dreams into little tiny, dust particles, to say the least. Shigaraki would be crying in fear as he would say this. Konagiri, teleport me, and the rest of the League of Villains! As Konagiri would say this. Right, master. As they would be teleported, as Izuku would say this. Coward. We should be going, guys. Let's go. As Lucifer would appear, as they were teleported, Bakugo would start chasing after him, But it was too late. Izuku has fully disappeared. Everybody would just be stupefied. But they start looking towards All Might as they would start trying to shake All Might as the paramedics would appear as they started going to the hospital. It's basically in a different perspective this time. So, as everybody is basically just like seeing in the news, like the news would be reporting on this as the Hero Commission are basically there. They would try to save All Might, but it was already too late. All Might is dead. Everybody's just felt like it was a horrible dream, but it's in reality. Reality is true. All Might is gone. The symbol of peace, or in Izuku's case, the symbol of tyranny and false heroism. Izuku would just look over at the news and started laughing, saying, "No more hero, no more king of heroes, no more symbol of false heroism. We are victorious!" But the battle still rages on, right men? As everybody, or mostly people that decide to rebel against the heroes, they would salute and also cheer for Izuku, saying, "Yeah, we shall stop these so-called heroes." As Izuku would say this, "Our battle isn't ending here, though. We need to stop this so-called all for one from basically turning this world into a dystopia even more. And that is why I want all of you, no matter your age, gender, race, or whatever, even if you're quirkless or anything like that, join me and we shall remake this world into a better place than this." As everybody would start cheering for Izuku, as his, traitorous team of, League of Villain members basically are standing behind him. Let's go back to the news. Not really Izuku, I meant, the newscaster would start going towards, All Might's funeral the next day. Everybody would be mourning, but the news is interrupted by a special broadcast by this brand new group, the New Reborn, or the Reborn. They would say this. Being Izuku, basically, you know how, in Persona 5, where they did, the calling card for, I can't remember his name. It's basically, I think his name is, I can't remember his name all that much, but he was basically Akechi's father, or at least, half-father, I guess? But, the way they say it is just, in the actual, cutscene, or in the actual, thing, where they basically, cover themselves in shadow, as their voices are basically distorted. So, Izuku would say this: "People of Tokyo, Japan itself, we are the Reborn, and we shall take over Japan and make this so-called country, this country filled with heroes, these so-called heroes, suffer. We shall make them pay for what they think is heroism, when they're nothing more than traitors, nothing more than dictators, nothing more than false heroes. Join us, or fall just like them." As they would pan out to an army of, or at least an entire legion of soldiers, led by most of the members of, of the treacherous, or at least the League of Villains members that decide to rebel. Not only that, they seem to have demons on their side, because Izuku decided to, enlist the help of Lilith, or at least the Lilith that he helped during that, whole Ishtar incident. So, after this, the video would end as everybody is terrified, including the Hero Commission and the League of Villains. All for One is angry. The Hero Commission is scared. And the populace, they're confused, angry, scared, happy. They don't even know what is this feeling, but there's definitely going to be a war soon. A war that will be even greater than the world wars. So, this is going to be the end of this episode. So, I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!